on the 6th of April, 2024, in the middle of a busy street in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England. A security camera recorded a young woman pushing a stroller, suddenly being stabbed more than 25 times by a man in front of the shocked passers-by. That woman was Kulsuma Akter, 27 years old. The perpetrator, none other than, was her husband, Habibur Masum, who had been following his wife for many days before committing the brutal act.
In April of last year, 27-year-old Kulsuma Akter was walking along here, Westgate in Bradford. At the time, she was pushing her 7-month-old son in his pram. Unfortunately, and despite several conditions imposed upon him, her estranged husband, Habibur Masum, had tracked her down and approached her. He grabbed the pram, and it was here where they have a short conversation, only a few moments.
Kulsuma Akter, 27, is a young mother from Bradford. She is described as gentle, devoted to her children, and had tried to leave an abusive marriage. She had sought refuge at a women's shelter to escape her husband, Habibur Masum, 26. Masum had a history of controlling, intimidating behavior and had been cautioned for domestic violence. Kulsuma Akter was born and raised in Bangladesh, where she grew up in a traditional family environment. After her studies, she emerged on social media as a traveler, reflecting her inquisitive nature and ability to navigate life abroad. Around 2022, Kulsuma Akter married Habibur Rahman Masum, a fellow Bangladeshi. After the wedding, the couple moved to the UK, where Masum studied for a master's in marketing at the University of Bedfordshire. In the early months of their marriage, the couple seemed to be a promising young family. Kulsuma was pregnant with their first child, and Masum appeared to be a caring husband and father. After arriving in the UK, Kulsuma Akter and Habibur Masum's marriage quickly turned from a happy marriage to a dark and violent reality. Masum began to show signs of excessive control. He controlled her phone, forbade any contact with family and friends, and constantly questioned her about her every move and conversation. These seemingly small acts gradually turned into a long series of obsessive and possessive behaviors, leaving Kulsuma feeling increasingly suffocated and isolated. Extreme jealousy and violent arguments became the norm. However, things took a particularly dangerous turn in November 2023, when Masum, in a fit of rage, held a knife to his wife's throat and threatened to kill her. The incident not only left Kulsuma in a state of panic, but also made her realize that her life and that of her young child were no longer safe in this house. Unable to bear it any longer, Kulsuma sought help at a battered women's center in Bradford and was placed under emergency protection. She lived in a shelter with her children, cut off contact with Masum, and began counseling sessions with a social worker. During one meeting, she blurted out a chilling sentence: "I believe he will kill me one day." This was not pessimism, but a clear awareness of the danger she was trying to escape. However, despite being physically separated from her abuser, Kulsuma could not escape her emotional fear. Masum continued to demonstrate his obsessive control in many subtle ways. He secretly installed location software on her phone, tracked her every move, and determined the time she left the shelter so he could plan his approach. These behaviors were no longer simply jealousy. They were clear manifestations of controlling violence, a dangerous form of psychological abuse that is often underestimated in marital relationships. Not stopping there, Masum also impersonated a medical worker, calling the shelter under the pretext of a health check to trick her out of the safe place. This was not only a violation of the law, but also showed the level of manipulation and danger of him, a man willing to play the role of a good guy to approach the target. During that time, Kulsuma continuously received threatening messages with content that made her panic. He called her a traitor, bad mother, and declared that she will not live in peace if she takes her child away. Despite the support of social workers, counselors, and a women's shelter, Kulsuma lives in a constant state of vigilance. She doesn't dare take her children out for long periods of time, only goes out when absolutely necessary, and frequently changes her travel habits. But the most heartbreaking thing is, even though she knows the danger is imminent, she has no right to ask the police to arrest her husband without a specific violation. The conflict between her real fears and the tolerance level of the law has left Kulsuma in a difficult position. Kulsuma's struggle is not simply about running away from a man, but about fighting a system that is not responsive enough to protect women from foreseeable crimes. She warned, she ran away, she cried for help, but all her warnings were drowned out by slow bureaucracy and legal hurdles. On the afternoon of the 6th of April, 2024, Bradford was not too cold, and the streets of Eastbourne Place were quiet. In that seemingly normal scene, Kulsuma Akter, a 27-year-old mother, was pushing her 7-month-old son in a stroller, in a small attempt to maintain a sense of normalcy amid months of hiding and fear. She had left the shelter for abused women just a short distance away, thinking she could get some fresh air, let her son get some sun, and then return safely. But Habibur Masum was there, waiting for that moment. Masum had planned it, tracked Kulsuma's phone, and pinpointed where she often went for walks. He approached from behind in broad daylight, with a long knife hidden in his jacket. Without a word, he suddenly lunged forward, stabbing his ex-wife more than 25 times, even as she held his hand and pushed the stroller. The attack was so quick and brutal that people nearby could only hear screams and chaos. According to the West Yorkshire Police investigation report and security camera footage, Masum did not stop until he was sure the victim was no longer moving, then calmly turned and walked away, leaving behind a bloody scene and the newborn lying in the pram, motionless but unharmed. Kulsuma died almost instantly at the scene of massive blood loss, with most of her injuries concentrated in her chest, abdomen, and back. It was no spontaneous act, it was a deliberate, brutal, and unhesitating execution. The irony was that it happened just steps away from the shelter she had thought would be her last safe haven. After committing the crime, Masum fled the scene without throwing away the weapon, walking away coldly as if he had just finished a mission. An urgent manhunt was launched within hours, and Kulsuma's death became a shock not only to the local community, but also to the whole of Britain. Immediately after the attack, West Yorkshire Police received a series of emergency calls from witnesses in the Eastbourne Place area. Emergency services arrived at the scene within minutes. Kulsuma Akter was found lying motionless on the road, with blood pooling around her, while her newborn baby was still in the pram, unharmed. Paramedics performed first aid at the scene, but due to excessive blood loss and deep wounds, the victim was confirmed dead at the scene and could not be transferred to another hospital. Immediately after sealing off the area, the police conducted an investigation of the scene under the supervision of the criminal investigation and forensic teams. About 5 meters from the victim's body, they discovered a dagger about 20 centimeters long, the blade still covered in blood, believed to be the weapon used by the suspect. The official forensic report showed the victim suffered a total of 27 sharp stab wounds, mainly concentrated in the left chest, lower abdomen, and back. There were signs of slight defense on the forearms and hands, indicating that the victim had made a desperate attempt to resist. Within the first 3 hours after the murder, the police successfully extracted images from civilian and traffic CCTV cameras in the surrounding area. The recording clearly shows the entire course of the incident. Masum approached from behind, said nothing, pulled out a knife, and repeatedly attacked the victim. After committing the crime, he calmly left, turned into a small alley, and disappeared from sight. From the photo, the police immediately identified the suspect as Habibur Rahman Masum, the victim's legal husband. Based on the history of previous reports of abuse, threatening messages, and statements from the shelter, the case was classified as a premeditated murder. On the 6th of April, West Yorkshire Police issued a nationwide arrest warrant for Habibur Masum, placing him on a high-level watch list. All traffic points and hotels in the vicinity were alerted.
In this investigation, whose details have been widely circulated, and we are doing everything in our power to locate him. We've been overwhelmed with public support, and I would like to thank everyone who has so far assisted with our investigation.
West Yorkshire Police, working with the National Crime Agency, NCA, and local police, deployed a surveillance network to intercept and arrest Habibur Masoom. Data from traffic cameras, bank card movements, and mobile phone signals were analyzed urgently. Masoom left Bradford less than an hour after the attack, leaving his mobile phone at a diversion point, suggesting he had planned his escape. ANPR, automatic number plate recognition, camera footage showed he had used an unofficial taxi, traveling through several areas of the south, in an attempt to evade initial police checks. Three days later, on the 9th of April 2024, at approximately 1:15 p.m., Masoom was found hiding in a motel room in High Wycombe, Buckinghamshire, more than 170 miles from the crime scene. Police cordoned off the area and entered the suspect's room in a safe arrest procedure. When arrested, Masoom was unarmed and did not resist arrest, but appeared completely emotionless and emotionless. He was handcuffed and arrested on charges of first-degree murder, making threats to kill, and possession of an offensive weapon. Police also seized a number of personal items, including counterfeit documents, cash, and electronic devices, suspected of supporting his life in hiding. After being arrested at a holiday home in Buckinghamshire on the 9th of April 2024, Habibur Masoom was taken to West Yorkshire Police Headquarters in Bradford for a criminal investigation. The formal interview began that afternoon, under the supervision of the Crown Prosecution Service, the senior investigator, and the defendant's solicitor. During the interrogation, which lasted more than 4 hours, Masoom appeared calm, reserved, and unperturbed. According to the investigator's report, he refused to answer most questions, citing his right to remain silent. When asked to describe his actions on the 6th of April, the day of the murder, Masoom simply said that he was in the area, but did not admit to the murder. When investigators showed him CCTV footage of the entire attack, Masoom remained calm. He admitted to following his wife for several days before, including using her phone's GPS to track her location. However, he denied having any plans to kill her, saying that he just wanted to talk and clear things up, but lost control. A notable detail recorded in the minutes, when the investigator asked, "Do you feel remorse for killing the mother of your child?" Masoom did not answer, just stared at the wall without showing any emotion. Participants in the interrogation described him as cold, seemingly completely unaware of the seriousness of the crime. Legally, Masoom admitted to some of the stalking, threatening messages, and unlawful entry into the residence, but denied the murder charge. The defense tried to argue that the defendant was mentally unstable, suffering from mental stress from a broken marriage, but the police countered by presenting evidence that Masoom had planned the attack, bought a knife, and sought a hiding place, showing a clear, premeditated intention to kill. After the initial interrogation, Masoom was remanded in custody without bail pending a preliminary hearing. The interrogation records, along with testimony from social workers and CCTV footage, played a key role in establishing the charge of first-degree intentional homicide. The trial of Habibur Rahman Masoom took place at Bradford Crown Court in late June 2025, nearly 15 months after the murder that shocked the UK. The 26-year-old was charged with a series of offenses: murder, stalking with intent, making threats to kill, and possession of a dangerous weapon. In his opening statement, the prosecutor stressed that this was a well-planned, premeditated murder, carried out in broad daylight, in front of the victim's young child. A wealth of evidence was presented. CCTV footage of the entire attack, phone location data proving that the defendant had been stalking his wife for days, threatening and violent text messages, and testimony from staff at the shelter, all painted a portrait of a cold and calculating killer. The defense tried to argue that Masoom did not intend to kill, that his actions were impulsive, a result of his broken marriage. But faced with the undeniable evidence, from the knife purchase, to the stalking, to the immediate escape, that argument fell apart. Throughout the trial, Masoom maintained a chillingly calm demeanor. He did not shed tears, did not show remorse, And even when shown a video of himself stabbing his wife more than 25 times, he remained silent, staring blankly at the screen. On the 27th of June, 2025, a jury found Masum guilty of first-degree murder. The court sentenced her to life in prison, with a non-parole period of 23 years. In his sentencing, the judge called it a vicious crime, fueled by control, jealousy, and hatred. The verdict was final, but the echoes still resonate. For many, it was a just verdict, but for the victim's family and the motherless child, the pain was immeasurable. Kulsuma had warned that, one day, he will kill me, and it came true. A truth the legal system only recognized after she was dead.